In the wake of the tragic accident at Carlton, there is much discussion around whether or not Sydney Trains should install platform edge doors, or PSDs, at some or all of its stations, with many pointing at the expanding metro, the next stage of which opens, tomorrow, to advance their point. Personally, I find this discussion very interesting, and it's one well worth having, as there are very compelling arguments on both sides. I would also like to stress that despite what happened at Carlton, the railway, when used correctly, remains an incredibly safe way of getting around. You're 5 times more likely to get literally struck by lightning than to be accidentally killed on the railway. In order for Sydney Trains to install PSDs on their network, a number of prerequisite actions must have also been taken, each one of these taking perhaps up to a year. For trains to correctly align themselves with the PSDs, automatic train operation must be in use, and that can't be introduced until a new signalling system called ETCS Level 2 is commissioned on the line in question. The first instance of ETCS Level 2 is due to be commissioned in 2025 between Sutherland and Cronulla and Erskineville and Bondi Junction. Further stages will come online in following years. ATO will also take, being realistic, a year to be commissioned, so we're looking at late 2026 at the absolute earliest for PSD rollout, likely much later. Trains will also need to be fitted with new equipment to communicate with the PSDs, although this shouldn't be a limiting factor. Actually fitting the PSDs will be challenging too. Sydney Metro benefits from being a standalone line with its own standards and tolerances. It was able to integrate PSDs into its designs from day one. Sydney Trains, on the other hand, will have to change current safety standards to allow platforms to extend much closer to trains. This is because it is dangerous to have PSDs on a platform which doesn't have level boarding, as people can get trapped between the doors of the platform and train. Relaxing these standards to decrease tolerances would pose problems on lines which share tracks with the likes of freight and regional trains. To remove the step between platform and train, many platforms would need to be completely resurfaced. These engineering works would likely take a full week to implement per platform, causing massive disruptions. PSDs would also only work where trains using the platform have standard door positions. Once the V and K sets are retired, this shouldn't be an issue on most suburban-only platforms. However, any platform used by regional trains would not be suitable. Stations with curved platforms would require gap fillers to be installed as part of works, adding more complexity. These restrictions on where PSDs and their prerequisites can be installed effectively limit installation to the city circle and a few inner suburban lines. There's another barrier to PSD rollout, unfortunately a very dehumanising one. In today's world of rationalisation and economic viability, nothing can go uncosted. This means that human life has an economic price, comfortingly known as the value of statistical life, and in Australia it is estimated to be little over $200,000 per year. Thus, for Sydney Trains to present a net positive cost-benefit analysis, it would need to demonstrate that, if arguing on the grounds of protection of human life alone, the value of life saved by PSDs outweighs the cost of installing them, which I can't see happening at any station, even the busy ones. This is again because railways are so safe, with the statistical life cost of railway-related deaths in all of New South Wales being less than $1 billion in the last 2 decades. There are, however, many more benefits to PSD installation. Despite the publicity around PSDs and their benefits for platform edge safety, in many places their primary role is one of fire suppression in underground stations. As learnt the hard way in the King's Cross fire, underground trains push a cushion of air through tunnels in front of them, effectively acting like a bellows should a station be on fire. This is known as the piston effect. By separating the tunnel from the platform, PSDs can greatly reduce the risk of piston effect exacerbating fires, greatly increasing safety. This is why, for example, above-ground sections of both the Jubilee Line extension and Crossrail do not use PSDs, despite their underground sections doing so. Bad air quality at underground stations made the rounds in a news cycle a while back, and floor-to-ceiling PSDs would reduce the amount of brake dust, a significant contributor to air pollution in stations. A lesser benefit is the reduction of turbulence caused by moving trains, in turn reducing the risk of rubbish or other items blowing onto the tracks. And there's one more purely economic benefit, although some may argue it results in slightly worse on-train outcomes. If a section of line, for instance the city circle, is fitted with ATO and PSDs, the role of the guard is more or less completely redundant. Drivers, as they need not actually drive in these sections, can perform the role of guards, such as giving announcements, and there is no need to monitor the platform given the PSDs. This argument can also be made, with slightly less conviction, for just ATO. Either way, some guards could be given redundancies, reducing Sydney Trains' long-term expenditure. Most urban railways in Europe, which are as safe, if not more, run without guards, and have done so for many decades already. Stations fitted with PSDs could also probably do away with dispatch staff, as the driver will be able to see, through CCTV and the train management system, if any doors are obstructed. If all doors are closed and locked, there is no risk of anyone falling onto the train, thus flag staff are not needed. At the end of the day, I don't know if PSDs are a good idea for Sydney Trains. It is almost impossible to do a full network-wide rollout given the complexities created by other rolling stock and operators, but there is perhaps a case to be made for installation at busy underground stations once ATO is in revenue service. Some of you, I'm sure, will be asking why we can't pursue technologies like platform curtains or rope barriers. In my opinion, if we're going to do a PSD rollout, we should do it properly using the best equipment available. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, and I'll see some of you tomorrow, maybe, on the Metro.